I received a letter today from Ohio Secretary of State John Husted is with regard to State Issue 1. For the upcoming May 8th primary election, Ohio voters will decide a number of local issues and races. Ohioans will also have the chance to vote on one statewide ballot issue. Issue 1, proposed constitutional amendment, creates a bipartisan public process for drawing congressional districts. As Secretary of State and Chairman of the Ohio Ballot Board, I want to ensure information about this important issue is available and accessible to all Ohio voters in seeking your help in this endeavor. And he's encouraging us to go to the Ohio Secretary of State website at www.ohiosecretaryofstate.gov. And there's another website to get information on the item.
Treated to a presentation by the Public Works Director, the Fire Chief, and the Police Chief on the issue of prohibiting parking on the hydrant side of the street citywide. Chief Herner, along with the other two, Chief and Director, made a very compelling case as to the reasons why Avon Lake should follow in the footsteps of, I believe they said 21 out of 25 of our neighboring communities, and prohibit parking on both sides of the street, which would essentially prohibit it on the hydrant side of the street and be one side only. And for the many reasons that they mentioned, being able to get safety vehicles down there, being able to get the city vehicles down there. Many of these vehicles are oversized and with varying degrees and sizes of our streets. Some of our streets are extremely narrow. To be able to navigate and get down these streets in the case of an emergency or daily operating city business, or just daily travel commuting for residents can be very difficult and can be a safety issue. So they made a very compelling presentation. There were some legal questions that we believe that needed to be worked out, specifically how such a prohibition would work with regards to public and private streets. And so we are going to be seeking the input of the law director on some of these issues, and we will bring it back for further discussion. That's another issue that was discussed was the Avon gun range situation, which Mrs. Fenderbosch alluded to in her comments. Like her, I have received correspondence and phone calls over the past few days and weeks regarding this issue. It is a very serious issue, one that we do not take lightly, at least I do not take lightly. I had some discussions with Mayor Jensen last week and expressed to him the concerns from the residents. To Mayor Jensen's credit, he indicated that he would consider things that would resolve the situation. However, he wanted to have any recommendation or changes be cleared through his police chief, which I think is fair. So Mayor Jensen wanted to work with his police chief, Chief Bosley, and in turn, it was decided by Mayor Zilka as well too that Chief Streeter, our police chief, should work with Chief Bosley on some of the suggestions that have been put forth and hope to come to a resolution. One ordinance would prohibit smoking at all city parks, which includes beaches and ballparks, ball fields in the city. That is one that Park and Rec Director Tim Pinchek spoke very passionately about the need for. And the committee passed that 4-0 to have that ordinance drafted and brought to a future CCM. The second one was the prohibition of smoking and smoking-related products on all city campuses to exclude the rights-of-way. So streets, sidewalks would not be included in that, but all municipal campuses to include City Hall, the Safety Center, the old firehouse, etc., would have a complete prohibition on smoking and smoking-related products. Both of those items, again, have been put into the drafting stage, and I hope to have a copy of those to bring to a future CCM, and perhaps I can also persuade a member of the Lorraine County Health Board to come back and speak with us again once these are formally presented, as was done when we passed the last update on the smoking ordinance back when Mr. Shondel sponsored the legislation back in December of 2017. And that's all I have, sir.
I've heard council members ask, well, what specifically needs to be changed? Why can't we just Band-Aid our existing one? And under the general administrative area, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's 7 different topics that to be defined and completely worked within the code. Under definitions and complications, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. There's 19 of them. Let me just give you one example. For example, 12.03 has building height. Okay, that sounds very easy, building height. But when you have a building that has various roof levels, then you're supposed to be taking the mean. So that particular resident that might be coming in wanting to add an addition is going to have a different height than perhaps the next door neighbor that only has one roof, and it might not allow them to do what they might want on their own property. So it needs to be explored. Let me give you some other examples that might be interesting to you. Single family home. Okay, what does family mean? What does family mean? Okay. What about an in-law suite? How is that defined? And what is in-law suite? And if I would have an in-law suite and I would sell it to Valerie and she might turn it into a duplex, I mean, is that possible? So there needs to be some areas worked out there. And under single family, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 different areas. Here's another one. Generators. Back in the day, people didn't have exterior generators. What's the difference between an AC condenser and a generator? What about one that you have that's permanent, that's there, that has to go onto a concrete slab? It doesn't even speak to it. Let's talk about businesses and industry. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There's 8 different topics there that need to be addressed, not just changed, but actually addressed. Parking, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different ones that need to be addressed. What is an access drive, for example? When you talk about primary and secondary pavements, it's not clearly defined in our code, and whether it's private within an HOA or a PUD or whether it's a public street, it needs to completely be clearly defined. Under non-conforming, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different areas that need to be worked out, not just defined but actually worked out. Lot splits, there's 2 whole topics. Within each topic, there's multiple questions about lot splits. The way the county lot splits versus the way the city lot splits. It needs to be consistent. Then we get around to signs. Everybody says, oh, signs are easy. Signs are one of the most difficult things. Nothing within our existing sign ordinance is exactly compliant with federal and state code. A lot of people don't realize that. There weren't even LED signs back in the day when they wrote the code. Now, most of the signs are LED, and they can't meet the 12-inch thickness because they don't make signs that thick anymore. They didn't have those long wave signs that you see by businesses. These things need to be addressed. Updated uses. Here's a good one. Everybody here has a cell phone, right? Okay. And some of us have other types of electronics. Our cell phone or wireless telecommunications completely needs to be reevaluated. The way that communication works with a Lincoln log, a daisy loop today is so different than how it used to work. And our community has worked very, very hard to try not to have telecommunications on the ends of our street signs and on the ends of our intersection lights and on the steeples of churches and on and on. However, in some communities they do that. So in lieu of that, you could be putting up a pole that is similar to a light pole. It could even have a light on it, like a street light, and they would be going down a street. We need to address this. Do we want them? Do we not want them? Law changes, community gardens, fulfillment centers, dog grooming, and so much more. But I just wanted to give you an idea that there's multiple areas in that code that need to be changed. Thank you.
How often do you plan on them meeting? And will there be a chairman of the committee? And will the meetings be public? Can the residents go to the meetings and businesses within the city? Or is it a closed meeting?
First of all, it would not be a closed meeting. We would need to have them as public meetings. They would be open meetings. There would be opportunities for people from the public to have input. Along with the steering committee, there are going to be periodic public input sessions where individuals will have an opportunity to see some preliminary work that has been reviewed by the steering committee.
There's going to be the Avon Lake Garden Club's going to have their plant sale. It's not going to be a Memorial Day, which has been, I think, for 50 years. It's going to be the Saturday before Mother's Day, the 12th. And the place has changed. It's now going to be at the Goddard School on 83. So Saturday, the 12th, at the Goddard School. Thank you.
Thank you.